Hey guys, welcome back to Word to War. My name is Jorge Guerra.
And I'm Sergio Guerra.
And today we're going to be reviewing As Above, So Below.
So, As Above, So Below. What are you so giddy? I don't understand. It is a little late. Anyways,
yeah, it is.
As Above, So Below. If you've seen the commercials, it's the new horror movie out. Pretty much these people go into the
French
catacombs. I'm telling the story.
Sorry.
They go into the catacombs in France, and then there's all sorts of weird, hellish things that happen to them down there, or whatever, you know. And it's billed as I guess the first movie to ever shoot down in the catacombs or anything like that, you know. So out of the trailers, it's kind of unclear, but essentially that's the story. We're following a young college professor, and she's kind of following in her father's footsteps of trying to find this philosopher's stone. That's supposed to, it's like an alchemy thing. It's supposed to grant eternal life and also, like heals wounds and, turn any
Metal.
Metal into gold, all that kind of stuff. I'm telling the story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Am I stuttering a lot?
Well,
maybe. Am I? I really don't know. I'm sorry if I am. So anyhow, it's supposed to do all this stuff. So she's trying to find it. She's following some clues, and ends up in France or whatever, and trying to get these friends of hers and like strangers to take her down there so she can find the stone. And then somehow they open the gates of hell, and weird stuff happens. So, anyways, that's kind of the story.
Yeah.
What did you think about the movie? You're still all giddy.
I am, just because hilarity ensues. Okay, no. So this movie, what can I say about this movie? So let's go with goods, pros and cons, right? So the good stuff about this movie, the lead girl's cute. Now let's go to the bad part about this movie. This movie,
that's sexist.
There's not much I can say about this movie that's good. But, this movie. So, it's a horror movie. It's a horror movie. If you've seen the previews, it's shot in the same way that, like, a bunch of these movies are, the handy shaky cam or whatever. And they did do it as, it was the first movie shot in the catacombs of that. I was at San Diego Comic-Con. They did a panel for this movie as well. Which I thought the panel was pretty like plain and dry. Like none of the actors were there. Like they didn't really talk much about it. Just they made it a point to say that the catacombs were really cool when they were visiting, and there's like a whole culture down there and all that stuff. Which I think would have been really cool if they explored it in the movie, which they didn't. There was about 2 minutes really worth of the catacombs, and I think pretty much everything else was just stage. And then character development was nowhere around. It was just really lazy storytelling, in my point of view. The story wasn't even that interesting. If the Philosopher's Stone sounds familiar, that's because it's the first Harry Potter book, which is actually an actual thing. And there was a bunch of references that for mythologies and stuff that just seemed to be thrown in there. So what I can say about this movie is the fact that it just feels the idea, the concept was really cool, and it would have worked totally as a mystery kind of a suspense story filmed in a regular way, but it just feels like the reason it was done this way and the way it was told, it just feels really lazy, and you get kind of bored. And there was literally more laughs for some of the things that they were trying to make scary in the theater than there were scares. I think there was like 1 or 2 yelps, and there was probably more laughs than that for things that were supposed to be scary that ended up being kind of ridiculous. So I wasn't a big fan of this movie. The lead and some of the other actors did all right in it. I think the lead guy was to me, was a little lacking in acting wise, which is weird because he was in Cloverfield and he did pretty well in that. So, but anyway, I wasn't a big fan of this movie. Some of the suspense was there, and there was just some stuff thrown in there, like characters thrown in there that had no reason. They were just in there just to try to make it seem kind of scary, and even that failed. But yeah, as a horror movie, it was more like a boring movie. As above, so below. But yeah, so anyways, what did you think? My bad pun was better this movie.
Well, I also think that this. Well, maybe you didn't say it, but this is really hard to classify as a horror movie. There's different aspects of different types of movie that it tries to be. It's kind of like Indiana Jones and National Treasure, and like Blair Witch Project, and I mean, it's like really all over the place.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you see a movie like this and you think, well, you know what, maybe it was just billed incorrectly. It should not have been billed as a horror movie. It could have been billed as a suspense or something else. And you couldn't even say that about this film because there's not really anything that it really stuck to long enough to say, well, maybe it was supposed to be an action movie with some horror elements, and they just for marketing's sake made it into a horror movie. Nope. I think it was trying to be a scary movie, but watching this movie is kind of like going through a kindergarten haunted house. So if you want to go to a haunted house that's scary and you end up at the kindergartner's like free carnival, version of it, that's kind of what you would get from here. Very obvious scares, a long part of the movie, I'd say almost, or definitely over half of it, having nothing to do with any kind of scary or horror tone, minus the fact, if you count the fact that the catacombs are lined with human remains. That's kind of creepy to some people, I guess. I'm a big horror fan, so that's like at the lowest part of the totem pole as far as scary. Skulls and bones just don't, scare anybody, I think, this nowadays, but who knows. So as far as it being scary, I definitely don't think it was. There was, like George said, I think there was only really one genuine scare that people kind of yelped at, and it was very quick, and, it was more one of those shock scares anyway, so the film doesn't really make you feel any kind of fear. There's a lot of, like I said, creepy haunted house-ish type elements in it that don't make a lot of sense. If this movie was titled WTF, maybe, because most of the time you're like, what the fuck?
Hashtag, huh?
Right. There's very little of anything. I mean, not very. A lot of it makes no sense, really, and that sucks because I was telling George, I'm one of those people that complains about the fact that a lot of the, especially horror movies, spoon feed the audience, and it's like you don't need to do that. The audiences are smart, but man, this is like, they needed a little more explanation to what they were doing because it was just all over the place. And if we do a spoiler review, then you'll know that. You can click on it. It's going to be down here somewhere or on a notation or whatever. But in general, a lot of it didn't make any sense. It wasn't scary. So if you're looking for a scary movie, this won't be it. Yeah. It wasn't a very good experience. And it feels like while you're watching, it feels like it could. And that's why you get that whole WTF thing, because it's like you kind of want to like the characters. You're kind of going on this little journey with them and kind of like explaining, okay, where's it going to get scary? And then stuff starts happening. You're kind of like, okay, so where are you going? It just never really leads anywhere. And finally, and this I don't consider this a spoiler, finally, at the end,
it's still a WTF moment.
Yeah. You're left totally like, what the fuck? What happened? And that's a horrible way to end your film. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter what kind of film it is, And I don't believe it's got anything to do with like, oh, maybe we just didn't get the ending. Maybe, like somebody's gonna come and try and explain to us later. I don't give a fuck. It just made no sense. It doesn't.
Yeah, it's not WTF like as in like we were puzzled. Is it WTF as like why would you end it that way?
Yeah. So overall, I'm a little more critical with horror movies, anyways. But whatever this film was, I don't think I'd sit through it again. I mean, you could pay me $10. I don't think I'd do it. Like, I'd just rather go do something else. So, I'd give this a 4 because, I don't think there's many people that would actually enjoy it. So, what about you?
I'm gonna be a little bit more lenient. I'm gonna go to 5 just because I know there's some people that actually consider this already consider this horror movies just because of the shaky cam, and just because of the catacombs. But again, like I said, I actually didn't think. I have nothing against the actors. I think they did well with what was there, but there just was not much there. And I thought some of the imagery was cool, and I did like the locale, and I actually liked the story if it would have been told. But this was, like you said, it was everywhere. I really wish somebody could just like pretend this never happened and actually make a movie out of the plot that was supposed to be there, and actually like do all the right information and tie-ins. It would be super cool. But as it stands, I'd totally give it a 5 because I would not watch it either, even if it's on Netflix. And no.
And it's such a weird movie because it's not like it was boring. Like I'm sure if I sat through it again, oh man, I would be real bored. Yeah. And there's this part in it where they literally replay what just happened. Practically replay it in reverse, with in my head, it was just like the Benny Hill music going, just speeding through. Anyways.
So, I mean, if you see this, if you check this out, let us know what you thought. Are we being too harsh on it? I mean, I know we come from a horror background, so let us know. Let us know what you think is the worst horror movie you've watched if you don't consider this one to be. But, as always, click the like, subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. Share if you could. We appreciate that as well. But thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is Jorge Guerra.
And I'm Sergio Guerra.
And y'all have a good one. Bye.